Hello and welcome to Inside the Keyway. We're back with another episode looking at all things NBL. If you love the NBL, you're in the right place. Hopefully, we'll know what we're talking about. So sit back, settle in, and let's step inside the Keyway. I'm Cameron Porlock, and as always, I'm joined by Nathan Shaw. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you for having me.
It's okay. It's always good to be back talking hoops. So we only had one game for this week, and that was game one of the championship series, in which the Kings managed to spank the 36ers 112-68. What did you make of the game?
Just an absolute blowout. I got my drink, I sat down, I got my bowl of corn chips, I was excited. I was like, oh, how good is an NBL Grand Final? But it was, the first quarter was close-ish, but it just didn't last long. Sydney were just all over them. I think there's been more drama this week than games, which I'm sure we'll get into. But as the game itself, I think Cotton had 10 points. Honestly, all the notes I have here probably relate to Adelaide 36's drama, which is just a big story in the NBL, always, isn't it? There's always something going on.
That's right.
But just on the game quickly, Cotton, 10 points, just the way Sydney could throw Delhi, Galloway, Torrey Craig and Malawatch at him. And I listened to an interview with Torrey Craig afterwards, and they asked what the plan was, and he just said, there's no plan, it's just when we're on the court, we'll just call who's going to take him, and they'll all back each other into taking him. And I thought they would have had a very detailed plan of what to do there. And I'm sure team-wise, they did. They seemed to give him the keyway to run into, and then they all collapsed on him and he couldn't get his last-second passes out to the three-point line. And sometimes you'd see Cotton standing almost on the halfway line on offense, and the Delhi or whoever was defending him wasn't even looking at the ball, just had the arm up. It must have driven Cotton crazy.
Yeah, they did a great job on him. You couldn't do any better. And they've done well on him pretty much every game this season that they've played them.
I saw that he's averaging 15 points a game against them this year.
Yeah.
So they've just got him covered, and it's not just a Delhi stopper, it's a team effort every time.
Yeah, they've got they've got the length to really throw at him. Like Delhi's not the tallest player out there, but, Torrey Craig is.
Galloway.
Yeah, Galloway, Malawatch, they're all got length to them. And before, Torrey came in, it was Bull Quoll.
Yeah.
So, they've got that length that really, really hampers his ability.
And you saw on the first play of the game, Delhi accidentally got him in the face, got Cotton in the face.
Yeah.
And that sort of set the tone for what was to come.
It did. I thought Suarez played huge that game.
Yep.
I think he goes a little underappreciated for how well he handled Rakocevic and Humphreys.
Mm-hmm.
So he did a great job. Davis did Davis things. He just injected himself when he needed to.
Yeah.
But it was just an all-round team performance from them.
Something that I really wrote down in my notes when I was watching the game, I don't know if you saw early in the game, Humphreys just had one of his ridiculous fouls that he does, maybe 5 or 6 minutes into the game, and Wells took him off, but he didn't send him to the bench. He stood at the score table with him and talked to him for 30 seconds. I'd imagine he was talking about, we can't afford these ridiculous fouls.
Yeah.
Send him back on, and 6 seconds later, or 9 seconds it was, just someone was going to the hoop, Galloway I think it was, and he just cleaned him up. Looked like he was maybe going for the greatest block of all time, and he just fouled him again.
Yeah.
And Wells had to take him out, and he didn't come back until right at the end of the second quarter. But I mean, it's just such a Humphreys. I don't know what is going on with Adelaide and Humphreys, but also in his defense, Cotton and DJ are not great defenders at the back there.
No.
Both of those plays were, one, DJ just got toasted, as he often does. The other one, Cotton was the defender, and he has to clean up for them. But yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, because it's a Humphreys problem that I think we mentioned it last week.
It is. It's, that lack of defense in the backcourt with Cotton and DJ being on at the same time. It's leaving Humphreys and Cheatham to do a lot of work and that's where they wind up picking up silly little fouls. Sometimes it's on them in the way they defend, but sometimes they've got no choice. It's, you guys aren't doing your job and I'm having to try and cover. It's been an issue at the Bullets really for a while now with Harrison having to sort of clean up defensively, and so they're 4 and 5 always having to clean up defensively and winding up putting on fouls that they don't really need. It seems to be an issue when your backcourt isn't great at defending. Your centers wind up having to cover for them and
clean up your mess.
Clean up that mess, and get into a bit more foul trouble.
I think with DJ and Cotton not being great defenders makes this signing of the new import Jenkins even more strange. I mean, he's basically has the same skill set as DJ.
Yep. And apparently he was a Wells pick. Wells fought hard for him, and is now barely using him.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He's like the 8th or 9th man on the list now. Yeah, just Adelaide dramas. And speaking of which, and it comes from the game, and I don't know if you're going to bring this up, but DJ's comments in the media about Wells, did you see that?
I did. I have
thoughts.
I've got that here in my notes, and apparently they were seen arguing in the foyer of the hotel before that first game over DJ's comments that he made. I get that you're frustrated with him for that tech foul, but why do you have to go out into the media and complain about it?
That's it.
You've clearly had a chat, like the team have clearly talked about it. He knows that he stuffed up. So you've worked it out. You've, sort of figured it all out. No need to do that type of thing. Let it go. And then in the media, all you need to do is be like, yep, we've adjusted as a team. It's all good.
But also
that's all he had to say.
But also it's the coach. It's the coach. He's allowed to speak when he wants to speak. You just accept it. Like, it's not like he does it every week. I'm not a Mike Wells defender by any means, and I suspect he's not going to be around next season. But shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth and let the coach be the coach. Like, I'm sure he knows he did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't need you to go to you who starts on the bench normally until recently to go and tell the media what the coach has done wrong. Because every time DJ gets subbed off, whenever he's on camera, he's sulking.
Yeah.
He's constantly sulking.
I get during the game when Cotton got mad at him. Sure, it didn't look good, but that was heat of the moment.
Not 3 days later.
Not 3 days later that you then go on and, put the discussions that you've had out there in the media. Just be like, the team spoke to him about it. He knows that he stuffed up. Well, you don't even need to say it. We've talked about it. It's all good.
Yeah.
Move on.
Heat of the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But this isn't the first time that, DJ has said stuff that, makes him look like a bit of a goose.
Goose, that's a nice word for it. But yeah, it's interesting. I find it very interesting. So I think that's just shows the cracks that are in Adelaide. They were there last year, exaggerated version of this year, but they were there. They're there again this year, and it can't help anyone going into this series.
Yeah, it's kind of concerning that, considering where they've finished, that they're in the finals, that you could be considering getting rid of the coach.
Yeah.
Right? That just seems crazy.
Yep. Just, they finished, like you said, they had a great first 3 quarters of the season, their best season in ages, but still every story you see about them is about the drama around them.
Yeah.
It's just always something, isn't there?
That's it. Yes. All right. So, and look, in all honesty, we can kind of hope that the disharmony within the 36ers continues and it ends up being a 3-game series as you were kind of hoping for.
Look, I think it is. It's not that I'm hoping for it. That's just my prediction. I think Sydney. Well, you saw the other day. Sydney are a better team, better coached, just
Yeah.
better, just set up to beat Adelaide.
Yeah. I still think, and I know this has been said elsewhere in the media, that Adelaide will I think they'll win one game. Adelaide will win one game just off of Cotton carrying them.
It's going to have to be the next one, isn't it? Because
It is.
back in Sydney.
Yeah, I think they'll manage to get this one on Friday night, but I can't see them winning another one.
No, Friday night will be good. Be a good TV, even just to see what Adelaide do with Humphreys, with Mike Wells, with DJ.
Yeah.
How Bryce reacts to a 10-point game. Sydney don't have to do too much different. Adelaide didn't change anything in that game. Like I really noticed they didn't. They just didn't change anything from the last game during the season when Bryce struggled against Adelaide. They didn't look at it, or I'm sure they looked at it, but they didn't change anything. They've gone into this game the same as the last one. I just don't know whether they have it in them to even win one game in the series.
Yeah, they need to make those adjustments. They need to be able to get the others involved in some other way if they play Cotton the exact same way. And you expect Sydney to do the exact same thing because it's worked. So
it works, that's it.
Adelaide are the ones who need to make those adjustments and figure out how they beat that.
Cheatham needs to stand up. He's all NBL second team. He has to play better. I think Rakocevic does all he can do. Humphreys we've talked about. DJ we've talked about. Yeah. Galloway is one. I actually saw that he hasn't scored in double figures this whole.
Galloway.
Flynn Cameron. Sorry.
Flynn Cameron. Yeah.
He hasn't scored in double figures the whole playoffs.
Yeah, he's been struggling quite a lot, which is a bit of a concern for them. So yeah, he is young though, so you kind of you could understand being in this situation probably for the first time. Because he was playing for Melbourne last year.
Yeah, not too much.
So he has been there. No, not great minutes. So
this is they gave him a big role there, and he was at the start of the season. I mean, he was neck and neck for most improved.
Yeah.
Did he win most improved? I think he did.
Yes.
So there you go. He won the most improved. So his regular season was great, excellent. Yeah. But yeah, he's kind of been found out a bit.
He has. All right. Well, we'll see what happens Friday night, and then there'll be a quick turnaround for them on Sunday as well. So let's move on to the rest of this episode. So we're going to have a bit of a look at the teams who have finished up and their seasons and how they went. So we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up over these next few episodes while things are a bit quiet with the finals and so forth going on. Although our next episode, I am guessing, may just be, hopefully, a wrap-up of the finals.
Yeah.
And then we'll continue doing these reviews of the teams. So we're going to split the teams up as we go. So Nathan will take a team and I'll take a team each episode. And we'll do a bit of a breakdown of, their best and worst games and what worked and what didn't work, as well as having a look at what they might need for next season and what they've got moving forward. So for this episode, we're going to be looking at the Brisbane Bullets and the Cairns Taipans. And as I've kind of already spoken quite a lot about the Brisbane Bullets this year, and if you know anything about the Bullets Nation podcast, you'll have a fair idea of what I think. And if you don't, head over to the Bullets Nation podcast and have a listen to all of our episodes, and that'll give you a fair idea of where I'm at with them. So yeah, what have you got for us, Nathan?
All right. Brisbane Bullets. Like I can see Leroy Loggins looking over your shoulder there, and I'm feeling under a bit of pressure. I bet he would know. He would know what's happened this year. So I've kind of broken this down into some categories, and the first category is what went right this season for the Bullets, and there's not many notes here. It's pretty thin. Casey Prather's first half of the season until he got injured, I think he was on track for an All-NBL, probably second team. Could have been first team at that stage, but he was killing it early, literally carrying this team. He went down in the New Zealand game, and that took things to a whole new level. Look, I probably should have started with how their season went. The Bullets, as we know, finished last. If you just give me 1 second here, I'm just bringing up the ladder because I should have said that first. 6 wins, 27 losses. I think that tells the story. Ether went right in the first half of the season. Jacob Holt went right. And whenever you see NBL media in the second half of the season, I feel like they probably sometimes feel obliged to bring up the Bullets, and that is what they focused on, is Jacob Holt, and he was rewarded with a spot in the Australian team in the final FIBA window. He looks great. He's the sort of person they need to keep around. He could play the 4. He could be a starting 4, probably from next season, to be honest. Yeah, great pickup. Whoever picked up on him did their job. There's not many people in the Bullets back office who have done their job, but whoever found him did a great job.
That was Vandy.
Well, there you go. It's not even from the back office.
No.
So they've tied him down. I think he's on 3 years, isn't he? So, I mean, I think Will Weaver coming in now is great for Jacob Holt because he's got 2 years. They've got 2 years to make him happy. Otherwise, there is no question he is out of here for greener pastures. What went wrong? It started with the hiring of Stu Lash as a coach. And I've got to say, who didn't see that was a mistake? Who did not think that was a mistake when it happened? I mean, he hadn't coached before. He had no experience head coaching. Friend of an owner. I mean, yeah, madness, just madness. We've made the joke before, but the global search, and they found him in the window. I'm sorry, the office next door. Just disastrous. I don't even know what to say about that. I thought it was a good thing at the time, and I was quite excited. But the signing of Jalen Adams turned out to be what went wrong. We found out, of course, towards the end of his time here, that they called around, and I think they got one reference, and that reference said, "Don't sign him." Yeah, they knew what they were getting themselves into, and as it turned out, it didn't work out. He had a couple of good games, but there were games where he just checked out. He refused to shoot. He looked like he was sulking. I remember one as probably the same game that I'm going to mention soon, but I just remember Prather sitting on the bench, shaking his head, looking at Jalen Adams, just thinking, what is going on here?
Yep, that was that game where he ended up hurting himself when Prather hurt himself.
Yeah, I've got that in another segment coming soon called Worst Loss of the Year. Freeman Liberty, just injuries all around. Freeman Liberty, the import that they brought in, who has name I've already forgotten. He came in, not Terry Taylor.
Dakota Mathias.
Yep. Injury, his shoulder popped out. The replacement import, Taylor, I don't think was up to NBL standard, or just not up to what that team needed at the time. In a different time, a different place, he might be okay. But and it could have come down to coaching, but he just wasn't conducive to winning. Freeman Liberty coming again. Again, at the time, I thought, yeah, that's not bad, bringing him back, because they've made it pretty clear. And he looked pretty good in the one game before he did his ankle early in the season, but he never got going again.
Yep.
Bringing DMAC in as the fill-in coach, I don't know what else they were going to do, but also the results were quite shocking. But I did enjoy him calling out the owners publicly. That was pretty funny.
Yep.
So that was probably worth it just for that. The what went wrong list was very long. Have you got any that I've forgotten there?
No, I think that's pretty much all that I may have covered off. I do agree with pretty much everything you've said there. There's not much that we haven't spoken about on the Bullets Nation podcast that you haven't covered off, at least in terms of the team on the court stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Off the court's a whole different podcast, which you've covered. Best win of the year, I had the win, the 110.93 win in Perth quite early in the season, October, I think it was. I think it was one where Casey Prather and Tyrell Harrison both had rippers. They both, Casey Prather had 34, Tyrell Harrison had 27. Perth hadn't quite gotten themselves together, but that doesn't matter. They still went over there and won.
Yep.
And it was one that I didn't watch it live because I thought, they're just going to get pumped here. And then I watched it the next day and I'm very impressed. I thought, maybe things are okay. Stu Lash is a good coach.
Yeah, I think that one tricked all of us when it happened. Yeah.
Worst loss, we just touched on it before. The Wednesday night at the Gold Coast, it was an Ignite Cup game against New Zealand where they just got pumped.
Yep.
They were down by almost 40 for a lot of the game. I think they got it back quite late. The loss was bad enough, but then losing Casey Prather to the knee, if the season wasn't already over at that stage, you knew it was done then.
Yep.
I think New Zealand, well, they did. New Zealand had like a 40-point second quarter. And that's the one where Adams just couldn't have looked less interested. Prather was looking unhappy with Adams. Prather was having to carry the team.
Yeah.
Because no one else was doing anything. And just the mood of the game once Prather went down, even the commentators, obviously with Prather's wife on the commentary team that night, she disappeared straight away. Didn't hear from her again. But just the mood of everyone was down. Massive blow to their year and never recovered. Like it got worse and worse as it went on. I think there was possibly only one more win for the whole year after that, and that was against New Zealand at home.
Yep, that is correct.
Yeah, tough year. I think they would, if there was an award for the worst professional sporting team in Australia this year, they'd have to be nominated. Or they'd win. No. They'd have to win. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. They'd definitely win.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to see him win something. So maybe that can be organised.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. That game in particular is probably for this season the one that sticks out the most. It was probably the dagger to the heart that you're just like, that's pretty much season done and dusted. And yeah, I think a lot of us at that stage were like, we're not winning another game.
Yeah.
I think I had actually called that we would probably I think that Breakers game was the one that I called that I had said we might actually, that might be one, probably the only one that we'd win again for the rest of the season, and it ended up being true. But yeah.
Which, if the Breakers won that game, I think they would have gotten 6th.
Yeah.
Looking back, I mean, it's easy to look back, but yeah, would have been, the playoffs would have been better if New Zealand were in and not Tassie, because Tassie was so broken. But that is not relevant. Yeah. So looking forward, I think, going from here, where to from here? Brisbane Bullets.
Yep. Do you want to have a look at what they've got?
Yes, I would like that.
This is what they've got left at the moment.
So Divas, I have just seen on the Bullets site recently that Divas is talking about going to college. No official word on that?
Nothing official, but everything I am seeing has him not listed.
Which is a shame, because he'd be, well, I mean, it's good for him and the money, but he would be a really good backup point guard. I have got here McDaniel. I mean, he's injury prone, but their weakness by a long, long, long way is defense. They're shocking defensively. I would probably give McDaniel another year to see how it goes. Bradkey, he can have, he's fine. He can have another year as the 11th or 12th guy on the bench.
Yeah, well, he's DP anyway, so
I'd keep him around. I think on the out column, I'd bring Prather back, but I would want him to probably be the third import. I don't know if he'd be willing to come off the bench, but if you want to be, he's not going to be the starting 4, I don't think. If you want to be a top 6 team, he might have to come off the bench. I don't know if he'd be willing to do that. He could go to somewhere like Cairns and probably be one of their best 2 or 3 players.
Yep.
But if they want to be serious, and I think Will Weaver does want to be serious, I think they need to bring in 2 imports, possibly 3. I don't want to say better than Casey Prather, but less. I don't know. I don't know how to say it without sounding harsh. He's getting older. He gets injured a bit. You can't rely on him, basically. I'd like him to be a wild card in our team, like Torrey Craig. Like Torrey Craig for Sydney. He's there. You know he can do the job when he needs to do the job, but he's not relied on to do the job night in, night out. Yeah, from that list, I think I'd like to see Dukas under Will Weaver.
Yep.
But I feel like perhaps he might be ready to move on, but you never know. Will Weaver might spin some magic and talk him into staying. Other than that, Callum Dalton, I didn't mind the minutes he played off the bench when he played. If he can be, again, the 10th, 11th, 10th, I'd bring him back. But I think from the out list, that's about all I'd bring back. Smith Milner did his job in when the team's full. He's the sort of person who come off the bench and play 10 minutes and throw his weight around. And he was probably unfairly had to play a lot more minutes than he would expect this year. But that's probably what I'd be looking at with the Bullets. How about you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of similar with you in that I'd be bringing Prather back as well. So he was always in my list to bring back, but definitely keeping him as that third option import. There's hopes that, we might manage to see him as an Australian citizen sometime soon. We could all hope that it would be by next season, but I don't think that's the case. I think even if he is given naturalization, I think there's like a 12-month wait or something before they're considered, before that all happens, because I know that's what's happening with Tyler Harvey and the Hawks. So he will still be an import next season for the Hawks. So
yeah,
I think that'd be the same thing with Prather. So yeah, I'd be bringing him back as the third import. And yeah, being that third option, so you're not having to rely on him all the time. You're not putting as much pressure on him, which means he's not putting as much pressure on his body. Mm-hmm. He could still start in my team. I think I had him starting, but definitely that third option. And for me, I'd want to move him back to that 3 spot as well. Not in the 4. I think defensively he's not quite there in the 4 spot. And I'm much like you. I'd like to see Holt move down to the 4.
Yeah.
I think in my wish, because I had a wish list and a couple of those have dropped off now. I know Sam Menenga's now gone, which I'll cover off in the news. Angus Glover was one of my other wish lists.
Yeah.
So he's gone now. I've got a wish list for a backup centre. Yeah, my wish list. So I had Oscar Clough as a backup centre coming in from the college system to take over into that role. And yeah, moving Holt into the 4 spot.
Now, I've only heard about him this week for the first time because he's in the Sweets. Is he at Purdue?
Yes. Yeah.
Is he from Brisbane?
He is. Well, he's a Queenslander. He's from Kawana Waters.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, so I'd really like to see him come in as our backup centre to start off with in, just in case something happens with Tyrell. I'd like to see them sort of chase Will McDowell-White. We know that he comes back to Brisbane every year. They've had his name up in the locker room on a locker whenever he's in training.
I forgot to mention, I've got on my notes here, Will McDowell-White try again. They've got and I feel like it could happen this time.
Yeah,
he doesn't seem to be dominating. He doesn't seem to be playing massive minutes or having a great time over there. And he's a Brisbane boy. It might be time.
Yes, and he has said that he does want to come back and play in Brisbane. So, they've been doing some good work in talking to him every year. So I expect them to try again. For me, he's got to be their local marquee because that's something that they didn't have this season.
Yep.
So,
agreed.
yeah.
And I feel like it could happen this time. I feel like that could be on. And if they can get him in point guard, then you've still got 2 or 3 import spots. Yep. And you don't have to worry about centre or point guard.
You've still got, you've got local point guard, local centre.
Yeah.
And then you've still got 3 import spots that you can go and fill. And, even if they choose to maybe go 2 marquees, you could bring in, just throwing it out there, I don't think he will, but Mitch Creek at the 4 as your starter, and then Holt coming off the bench.
Well, Olgun was saying the other day that Brisbane are very keen on Mitch Creek, and they're trying to get him to talk. He's happy where he is, he said.
Yes.
And he's not hugely fussed, but they're trying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and I saw this raise, I think having Will Weaver as head coach is definitely going to make Brisbane a destination club this coming season, despite the shit show that was this current season that's just finished for them. He is a massive draw card. And from everything we heard in the members forum on Thursday night, which was just after our last recording. It sounds like their phones blew up the moment Will Weaver was announced as head coach, with agents and players all expressing their want to come to Brisbane. And, we know the location is highly desirable.
Yep.
Their high performance center has them at the top in terms of that. It's a very, very good high performance center. So that's an extra draw card for them. And then, just Brisbane as a location, and now Will Weaver as head coach. I do think that that's a big tick for them moving forward. So, it was actually a very good, I will say that the members forum was quite good. Will speaks very well because he was on that with us. So we got some good information. We did actually record a Bullets Nation podcast about the members forum and everything that they touched on there. Some good news coming. And we hope bigger and better things next season with them.
You guys do well to do that podcast with everything that's gone on this year, and to turn up every week and find, there's always something to talk about.
There was always something to talk about.
Must be a bit draining with everything always being so negative. So I hope for you guys, for your guys' sake, next year you've got some wins to talk about.
Let's hope so. And I will say that we have started a petition. If you head over to the Bullets Nation Facebook page, there's a petition that we've started to try and help the Bullets get their WNBL team over the line. So we're trying to show that there is passion for a team here in Brisbane. So I do suggest you head over to our Facebook page, find the petition and sign it. That way we can sort of help the Bullets show the government and whoever makes that decision that there are fans here who want to see a WNBL team back in the city.
Larry, just send it straight through to Larry.
Yeah. So at the moment, I think we've only got like 26 signatures or so. So we're trying to push. We're out there sharing it with clubs and stuff like that to try and get that out. But if everyone else can head over and sign it as well, that'd be great. And we're hoping there might be some more news coming shortly, which was non-committal as to what it was, but we all suspect that it could be the announcement of the new arena at the Gabba and the potential for that to be their next home.
Actually, something came off of the news about that today, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I know they've been working for quite a long time. I believe there's a consortium that they may be a part of that they are pushing to try and get that out. So, still a ways off. No one likes Boondle, but except for you.
I like Boondle. I like Boondle.
It's only because you can walk there.
Yeah, it's so convenient. I hope they stay there forever. Plus the nostalgia of the 90s.
Yeah. So onwards and upwards for the Bullets. They can't really go anywhere worse, can they?
No. And that leads me into a question for later on.
All right. So anything else for them?
No, that's it on the Bullets. I think we went pretty easy on them, considering we could have, like you have, spent hours talking about what happened this year, but I think that's a good overview of one of the worst seasons any team has ever had.
Excellent. Yes, it certainly was. So I decided to take a look at the Taipans, and this was a little bit harder than what I thought because I don't watch a lot of their games, but I did jump in and have a bit of a look. So I'm going to work back from their best game, which I've got as their overtime win against the Jack Jumpers, which was, I think, in January. That went into overtime. You could argue that, okay, the Jack Jumpers didn't have Magnay, they didn't have Bryce Hamilton, but the Taipans were missing Andrew Andrews that game and Rain Smith. And, it got a bit rough down the stretch for them in this game, but Jack McVeigh, came good. He had a monster of a game with 40 points. Interesting stat from this game for him, he went a perfect 17 from 17 at the free throw line. I still can't believe he got 17 free throws.
Where was he, Bryce Cotton?
Yep. He did have some good help, though, from Cody Statman, who had 18 points. And he also scored 7 of their last 12 overtime points. And Harvey King chipped in with a pretty good game. I think he had 14 or something like that in that game. They controlled large portions of that game, and then they weathered a late comeback from the Jack Jumpers, and then they executed exceptionally well under pressure in overtime. So it was just one of those games for them where everything seemed to click offensively. And, it was just a great high-quality, high-pressure win. So that was their best game that I had.
I watched the Cairns game this year. Do you remember? It was very early, maybe when the Bullets lost to Cairns, when Freeman Liberty twisted his ankle trying to go for the winning shot. I think the Cairns went down to Sydney and won the next day, or the 2 days later as well. But that was Sydney when they didn't have their stuff together.
Yeah. And that was because, at the start of the season, everyone was high on Cairns.
Yeah.
And they won those 2 games, and people were like, here we go.
Let's smash some cash. Yeah.
Yes. Their worst game of the season, there were actually a few. They had 7 games where they lost by 30 points or more. Still don't beat the Bullets, I think, on that front. So you could argue that any of those games would be considered their worst. But I went with their biggest defeat, which was at the hands of Sydney in round 13. They lost by 42 points. It was just a crushing performance, really, and it highlighted, the systemic issues that they had rather than them just having a really bad shooting night. Basically, no one scored over 14 points, and there was only 3 of them in double figures, whereas the Kings had 6 players in double figures, and pretty much everyone who hit the floor scored. It was just an emblematic performance of their NBL26 campaign, and it really face planted despite, the high expectations that, as we just mentioned, a lot of the experts had for them at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So they finished 9th at 9-24 for the season, so not great at all. What went wrong? Injuries was certainly a massive factor. I'm nowhere near as bad as the Bullets, but still pretty horrid for them. Sam Wardenberg, starting the season injured, and then they lose Higgins Titcher for the season. Rain Smith goes down for a lengthy period of time. Wardenberg comes back then gets injured again. McVeigh had some issues with his hand, and there was a couple others in and out throughout the season as well, just with little injuries here and there. As I said, not as bad as the Bullets, but still pretty horrible. I think they got their imports wrong. They had an import not even show up.
Yep.
And so they had to scramble and try and find someone, and they brought in Andrew Andrews. For me, he was he didn't start great, but as the season went on, I thought he got better and became very serviceable for them. Especially once I think he figured out how he was being called for fouls and stuff like that. And they clearly had a few complaints to the refs because then he started to get favourable calls. But Schofield was definitely not what they were expecting.
And Derek Rucker had him in his top 15 to start the season. It's a good one.
Yeah, didn't make any sense at all.
No.
He shot, I think he shot more threes than anyone else on that team. And I think they were expecting someone who could actually attack the basket a lot more and work in the paint.
He was a massive unit. That massive chest. And he just kept stepping out and shooting.
Yeah, I know that there were some talks throughout the season as well that it sounded like he may have been carrying some sort of injury, which is why he wasn't in the paint a lot more, and that's why he was standing out on the 3-point line shooting a lot more threes. But if that was the case, would you have not moved him on?
Yeah.
And try to bring someone in? So I'm not too sure about that, but he certainly did not work out the way they had clearly intended. And Marcus Lee, he just wasn't meant to be their starting center. He is a great backup center. I just don't think they could afford to have an import coming off the bench to start off with. That just was crazy for me. But he wasn't meant to be their starting center. He was meant to be back up to Wardenberg. He's always been foul prone. and he just struggled to stay on the court for them, especially in key moments like that Brisbane game that you were talking about, where Brisbane had a chance to win it. He fouls out in that game.
Yeah.
When they needed him, and that kind of let Brisbane back into that game because Brisbane were down a little bit. And yeah, he fouled out and they had no answer in the paint.
And it's kind of like what we're talking about Humphreys before. His fouls are just so unnecessary. It's like he sees a ball and he just cannot help himself but reach for it.
Yeah, and so that leads me into, they had no real backup at that centre role once Wardenberg went down, and left them very thin with just Lee as their main centre, and struggling to stay out of foul trouble. It left them lacking some interior defense and rim protection, and rebounding was a bit of an issue for them as well as a result of that. Another thing where I think they really went wrong, and it's why Andrews wasn't necessarily the best fit for them as a point guard. He wasn't a really great creator for them and creating shots and so forth for the others. And so they became far too reliant on McVeigh being their shot maker. And that's not really his forte at all. He is a great player. He earns that $1 million he's getting, but he's not your go-to shot maker. He's one that you create space and then get him the ball and getting the good looks. But yeah, they were far too reliant on him. I just felt like they built a roster that they thought was flexible, sort of modern. They had a lot of wings and so forth. And, they thought that was giving them a whole heap of depth that they could adapt to sort of any situation. But in reality, they really ended up with a talented group, but without a clear spine. And when things sort of went wrong, there was nothing there holding them together.
And they were put together so late as well, with Adam Ford not coming back till quite late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andrews turning up at the last minute. He was, never really stood a chance.
No. So that leaving, Ford call pretty late in the piece. And then the late signing of Andrews. And it was just ended up. I think what it showed was this being their first season where they were able to spend big. Shows that it's not necessarily easy to put rosters together, even if you've got money to spend. There's a lot of moving pieces that you need to get right. Actually, and just on that, while I remember, something that Will Weaver did say about the Bullets is that they will not be one of the biggest spending clubs, which I think was good because he's setting those expectations now. And kind of highlights, I think they've tried to highlight that it means that players will want to be there. They're not there for the money. They're there because they want to be there. So that's just a little note there on that with the Bullets. What went right? Well, not too much went right for them. Obviously, McVeigh was a shining light for them. He went to work brilliantly throughout the season, but he was just expected to do way too much. But in saying that, he was, still a shining light and definitely worth the reported $1 million he is on. Cody Statman, I thought, was great for them. He really showed that he belongs in the league and he deserves more time on court. He gets better sort of the more you play him. He's one of those guys. At the start of the season, I thought Rain Smith was showing great potential, and I've sort of got him coming back for next season, which I'll get to. So I thought he was great. While he was there, had he been fit, I think he would have really shown how great he is. And then the injury replacement of Mojave King.
Yeah,
that was a great call. He just came in and gave them solid minutes pretty much every game.
He became their second best scorer. Their second weapon.
Yes, yeah. You can really see the talent that he has, and it kind of makes you wonder why he didn't have a contract already. He's a very talented player. I've been high on him for a few years now. Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't already signed. So hopefully he can pick up a contract for this coming season. So where to now for them? Well, let's have a bit of a look at what they've got. So as we can see here, they don't have a lot coming back. So they've got Jack McVeigh is locked in for next season, I believe, because he was a mutual option, I believe, and that's been taken up. So we know that that's confirmed. Rain Smith as a team option, I'm definitely bringing him back and probably going to try and throw him in as a starting two guard.
Yep.
I think he deserves. He looked like he was well enough to be a starter, so that's where I'm going with him. And then obviously they've got Mag there as well on a team option. I'm picking both of those options up for them. And yeah, bringing Mag off the bench, continuing. With the outs, I'm bringing Statman back, as I said. He just deserves another contract. I'm also bringing Galloway back as that backup four. He's very serviceable in that four position. He just had to play way too much time as a centre this season, and that's not where he is best at. He is best at that four position. He can play the five in limited minutes, but you want him coming off the bench in that four position. So I'm giving him another go. I don't see Wardenberg coming back. I think he could go. I'm actually wondering whether he would be better at a four position himself and not necessarily a five. He's kind of, for me, a bit like Sam Menenga.
Mm-hmm.
They're better they play the five, but they're built more like fours. So I can see him moving on
to like a Melbourne United type situation.
Yeah. So for me, that means that they're going to have to find themselves a starting centre, and we know that there are not a lot of local bigs. They could, knowing Adam Ford, he could go after an Oscar Clough type.
Yeah,
he's local,
very good at that.
Yes, so they could wind up with someone like that, which I would hate, but so that's kind of I think I've got that they could look at someone like that, or they could go the import centre route, but they're harder to find. They cost a lot more money, and they don't tend to work out all that well as well. And it's a big spend for someone
who's stuck in one position.
Yeah. So I'm kind of stuck on Andrew Andrews, considering how well he was starting to look towards the end of the season. If they feel like him and McVeigh were working well, then bring him back. And he'll be better having already played a season in the league. Usually that's how that works with these guys. So I'd, potentially bring him back, but otherwise they need to go and get a point guard who can create a bit more and take some of that pressure off McVeigh. So I definitely think they'll keep an import point guard, and they need some more depth in that backup point guard role. I think Kyle Adnam has had his time in this league. He's nowhere near as effective as what he used to be coming in off the bench as that backup point guard. So I think they need to shore up some local talent there. And once again, Adam Ford's good at finding these young guys that can potentially do that.
Yeah.
Definitely an import for someone who can create their own shot and get in and rebound and do, that dirty work in the paint that they need to go along with whatever center they get. I kind of think a Cheatham-esque type player here, someone athletic, can play a bit of inside and outside, but rebounds exceptionally well. And so that's pretty much. So for me, I've got their import point guard, Smith at the 2, McVeigh at the 3, import 4, and then potentially an import 5, or they bring in someone like Oscar Clough as their center, and that gives them a backup. They could potentially even marquee another player, another local. You could look at someone, I don't know whether he'd want to, is Pinder, whether bring him back and play him at the 5 as a small 5. He likes playing for forward.
Yes.
So, and then, that local backup point guard, Mag at the 2 as the backup, Statman coming in as the backup 3. But, he can play 1, 2, and 3 almost. Galloway at the 4, and then that backup 5 as well. And then, maybe a versatile player who can play multiples anywhere from 2 to 4 as the 11th man, but someone down the line.
And they're the sort of team that could pick up like a Smith Milner as well to be their enforcer.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that would do Smith Milner quite well. As
Yeah.
much as, once again, I'd hate to see him go up to Cairns. I don't think he'll be back at Brisbane. So, yeah, so someone like that in that position. I haven't really gone through the entire free agency list, so I'm not going to give too many other names out there. We might look at maybe a free agency list once free agency actually opens up and go, okay, where could you slot people in? But we'll save that. So, yeah, so that's what I've got for Cairns.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a blank canvas to work with there.
They do.
And as Adam Ford confirmed, he's coming back.
Yeah.
He has.
Well, that is good because I don't think I had heard that. So
no, I haven't. Sorry, that was a question.
Yes, no, I don't think he has. I don't think that's been confirmed.
Yeah.
I'm kind of expecting him to. It would be a little, I don't know where they would go coaching wise if he decides that he's not coming back.
No.
But yeah, I hope for them that he kind of gives it one more go with McVeigh. And that was kind of when McVeigh re-signed or said that, yes, he was definitely going to stay. That was kind of on the back that I thought he kind of believed that 40 would be there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you will be. I love 40. He's one of my favourites. 40 and Josh King are my two favourites. I could watch them all day.
I won't say what I think of Adam Ford.
You're a Bullets.
There's a whole incident that happened that none of us really like.
The Baines one? See, I even loved 40 in that. I thought he was great in that.
I think he got off too light, is what I think. So that's Cairns Taipans. As much as I'm not a big Taipans fan, I'd like to see both the Queensland teams move up and actually make the top 6 next season. So I think that'll be good for Queensland to see both teams in the 6 doing well. Let's knock maybe some of those Melbourne teams down a little bit lower.
Just the one.
Yeah.
Melbourne.
So that's our look at the teams. A little bit of news this week, nothing too much. Saw Karim Lopez has declared for the NBA draft. So hopefully he goes. I think that's a big loss for the Breakers if he does go and gets picked up, which I am sure he will.
Yeah. I saw a mock draft. They had him at 13 the other day.
Yeah, I thought he played exceptionally well for them, and we'll get to the Breakers in another episode. And staying on the Breakers, Sam Menenga has re-signed with them for 2 more seasons, so there's another one off my wish list. That was my hope that he'd come to Brisbane and play in the 4 spot alongside Tyrell. Him in the 4, Tyrell in the 5, Prather in the 3. Imagine that team.
Yeah, that is a wish list, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dreaming. I'm just happy he didn't go to Melbourne United. That's the sort of guy, just like Wardenberg before, that's the sort of guy Melbourne would try to take from someone. And I'm glad he's not there because that would have made me sick.
Yeah. So I think that's all the news that I've seen. It's been a pretty quiet week. Obviously, there's been the dramas with Adelaide, which we've already spoken about, but not much else. So on to questions without notice. Do you want to go first or shall I?
I'll go. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
If Adelaide have to remove DJ or Mike Wells, which one are they going to remove? I'd probably like to remove both, to be honest, answering my own question.
I honestly think they'll remove Wells.
Yeah, I think he is going to go as well. But I feel like if they could back out of that DJ contract.
Yeah, they would as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I've got a couple of Bullets themed questions for you here. Okay. Has there been a worse or more unqualified coach than Stu Lash in your memory of watching the NBL?
Never. Ever.
No. I'm trying to
that's
think.
That's an easy one. It's just never happened.
Do you remember Mark Price from the NBA?
I do, but even he had more qualifications.
More than nothing.
Yeah.
That was a disaster.
Yeah. He had at least played at a high level in the like he had played in the NBA and
Just trying to think if there's other players who became coaches who were out of their depth. Nothing quite like Stu Lash, I don't think.
No.
Well, we're getting through these pretty quickly. And also, just after talking about the Bullets, what is the worst NBL team or season from one team that you can think of? You can include that Bullets team.
Well, so we have had a bit of a thought on this on the Bullets Nation podcast, and I've counted. I think I have this season as the worst for any team in the league that I can think of. There might be some others, maybe Singapore Slingers.
I remember Geelong Supercats that had a 0-26
Yeah,
season or something, but
yes.
you don't get the social media drama or the inside word on what's going on back then.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that team, and I think Joey Wright mentioned that team as well as being pretty disharmonious at the time. But yeah, I've got this team at least in recent sort of history, say past 20 years, as probably the worst team.
And I'm sure there's teams recently that have won less than 6.
But not looked as bad.
Yeah, just not got pumped the way they did.
And that's kind of where I stood, because there was a season, and I can't remember, I think it was the 98 Brisbane Bullets team that was horrendous. I'm trying to remember who was coach now of that team. I think it was Richard Orlick. It was a Richard Orlick coach team, and they had Randy Rutherford as their import, and they let him go mid-season, and then they sacked Orlick mid-season as well.
Yeah.
That season, it didn't even feel this bad.
Yeah.
Because they had made those changes. And you could see that they were trying to make things better, whereas this season felt like they weren't even going to, like they were waiting so long to make changes.
Is that when Brian Curl came back for a bit? Do you remember that?
I think so. I think he came back briefly, and then they brought in Dave Ingham for a while, and Dave Ingham was coach until Joey took over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything changed.
Yes.
Well, Eddie Groves came in with his cash.
That's correct. So, those are your questions that you done? Okay, I've only got 2 for you, and one of mine is very similar to yours. So, if Wells does depart the 36ers next season, which, as we've said, seems a little crazy considering where they're finished, who would you like to see take over as head coach?
I'd love to see Phil Smythe go back to Adelaide. It's never going to happen, but I'd love that guy in Adelaide. He just the vibe of that team. They were so relaxed. He just sat on the bench with his legs crossed. He didn't care. He was so good. That's not going to happen. I think it would be. I think Gleeson, and I'm sure it's already been lined up. Cotton's man, Gleeson. He wants to come back. It fits perfectly.
And they've got the money to do it.
Yeah, they're not scared to spend to win.
Yeah.
So I think that's who it would be. That's not who I want it to be, but that's I think who it would be.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be if it does happen that Wells go, and it's keep sounding like that, especially if I think they go out in 3.
Yeah.
I think he's gone, and I see Gleeson as well. Just Cotton, and they've got the money.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, second question, and this one I kind of stole from the NBL, and it's a question they ask pretty much the same time every year. Who do you consider the greatest championship team in the NBL? You've got the. I'll give you some options.
Yep.
You got the 86 36ers, the 07 Bullets, the Kings from the three-peat era. Any others that you might be able to think of?
Early 90s Perth, 1991, I think they were. Just a very good team. The Magic and Tigers teams in the mid to late 90s were so good, but they none of them won 2 in a row. They just kind of kept swapping. That's a tough one. The Bullets won. It was a ridiculous team, and it might be them because they won so many games.
Yeah.
So they were so dominant.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one because it comes up all the time, and I always say there's 2 that you could argue could be both. Either of the teams could be. and it's the 86-36ers because they were the Invincibles. I think they lost 2 games for the entire season. And then the 07 Bullets with their, 21 game win streak.
Yeah.
And they just looked, once they got going, they started off slow. But once they got going, they would,
Literally
no team. Yeah, literally unstoppable. No team could touch them.
It's also the quality of opponent comes into it for me as well. And I don't know.
You look at that, the Melbourne Tigers team that they came up against in that championship series. That was Anstey and D-Mac and a slew of others. It was a pretty good quality team. Yes, the 86-36ers, they came up against the Bullets in their championship series, but I always felt like that was a fairly weaker league at that time. And, that season, those seasons weren't overly strong. Yeah, but I say either of those two in terms of especially single season championship teams.
Yep. Yeah, Dynasty's a different question.
Yeah, Dynasty's a different question. I think that the Kings are definitely up there in terms of the Dynasty, that three-peat team, that three-peat era.
Shane Hill for a bit. Yeah, Matt Nielsen. Yeah, you're right. That is right up there.
Yeah.
Is that last three-peat? There wouldn't be...
Yeah, I think that... Did the Breakers do a three-peat as well?
If they did, it was probably...
With Lamanis?
It'd be close.
Yeah.
Another one I really liked was the 99, 98, 97, 36ers. Brooks, Catalini.
Yeah.
Really, David Stiff. I think they swapped positions one year. I loved that team. Phil Smythe again. I loved that team.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there are a couple of good dynasty eras. And, like I said, you could toss up over the 86-36ers or the 07 Bullets. I always be in Bullets. I say 07 Bullets. That 21 game win streak isn't going to end anytime soon.
No, you're right.
Yeah. The Kings might push for it, but they're going to have to split it over a season. The Bullets did that in one season. So, yes. So that's it. I think that covers off everything. We've a bit of a long episode today, but that's okay. Probably a little bit longer than what we like. So, all good. So that's us for Inside the Keyway. As always, if you enjoyed the episode, please jump on, subscribe so that you never miss anything, and share it with someone that you know who loves the NBL as much as you. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us on the socials, Instagram, Facebook, X. We're there. Probably not posting as much as what we should be, but that's okay. It's pretty quiet at this time of year.
Yeah.
And if you've got any questions or thoughts, please leave them in the comments for us. And I do check, and I will get back to you. We will get back to you on them. So until next time, keep watching this space, respect the shot clock, and we'll see you inside the Keyway.
See you next week.